You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Do you know how the space and cybersecurity domains connect? T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing is your guide through the space-based systems that expand the attack surface. I'm Maria Varmazis, host here at N2K CyberWire, and I'm excited to share that T-Minus is back, now as a weekly podcast, the T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing. We have a new dedicated focus on two great things that are even better together, space and cybersecurity. Because whether we realize it or not, we all depend on space-based systems that are, by the way, increasingly internet-enabled. We're talking cybersecurity technologies, policies, and organizations that are securing the critical space-based infrastructure that powers, protects, and connects our lives here on Earth. So join me for T-Minus Space Cyber Briefing, new episodes every Sunday.
Quick question. Have you watched Project Hail Mary yet? Humanity is facing an existential threat and racing to solve it with the clock ticking. For security teams, that probably hits close to home with AI use rapidly spreading. Everyone's using AI, marketing, sales, engineering. Chris the intern without security even knowing about it. That's where Nudge Security comes in. Nudge finds shadow AI apps, integrations, and agents on day one and helps you enforce policy without blocking productivity. Try it free at nudgesecurity.com/cyberwire. Microsoft confirms active exploitation of two Defender flaws. Europol dismantles a VPN service tied to ransomware gangs. A 9-year-old Linux kernel bug exposes SSH keys and password hashes. Cisco patches a critical secure workload vulnerability, while Drupal fixes a highly critical SQL injection flaw. Android malware quietly signs victims up for premium SMS scams. Webworm upgrades its espionage toolkit with Discord and Microsoft Graph backdoors. China and Russia deepen cooperation on AI, cybersecurity, and satellite systems. Our guest is Jake Moore, Global Cybersecurity Advisor for ESET, sharing a glimpse into his InfoSecurity Europe keynote, The Deepfake Interview. And Greg? Greg doesn't even work here anymore. It's Thursday, May 21st, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great, as always, to have you with us. Microsoft says attackers are actively exploiting two Microsoft Defender vulnerabilities, prompting action from both Microsoft and CISA. The first is a local privilege escalation flaw in the Microsoft malware protection engine. Successful exploitation could grant attackers system-level privileges. The second vulnerability can force Microsoft Defender into a denial of service state, potentially disrupting endpoint protection. Microsoft says both flaws are publicly disclosed and exploited in the wild. Patches are available in updated Defender engine and platform releases. Microsoft Defender is widely deployed across enterprise and government environments. CISA has added both vulnerabilities to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog and ordered federal civilian agencies to patch or discontinue affected products by June 3rd. European law enforcement agencies have seized First VPN, a private service investigators say was widely used by ransomware gangs and other cybercriminal groups to conceal operations online. The operation, called Operation Saffron, involved authorities from 16 countries with support from Europol and Eurojust. Investigators seized 33 servers, shut down multiple domains, and interviewed the alleged administrator in Ukraine. According to Europol, the VPN advertised heavily on Russian-speaking cybercrime forums and offered anonymous payments and concealed infrastructure designed to evade law enforcement. Authorities also gained access to the server's user database, which investigators say contains information tied to thousands of suspected criminal users. The takedown highlights a growing law enforcement focus on disrupting the infrastructure that enables cybercrime, not just the operators behind the attacks. Seized customer data could support future ransomware, fraud, and data theft investigations across multiple countries. Researchers at Qualys have discovered a Linux kernel vulnerability that could allow unprivileged local users to access sensitive files, including SSH private keys and password hashes, on default Debian, Fedora, and Ubuntu systems. The flaw has existed in the Linux kernel since 2016. Qualys says the bug affects the kernel's ptrace mechanism, which manages process tracing and debugging. By exploiting a race condition tied to credential changes, attackers can inherit access to protected file descriptors from privileged processes. Qualys demonstrated proof-of-concept exploits exposing SSH host keys and shadow password hashes. Researchers warn the issue is especially dangerous in shared hosting and multi-tenant environments where untrusted users can obtain local shell access. Kernel patches are available, and Ubuntu and Qualys recommend tightening ptrace restrictions as a temporary mitigation. Cisco has patched a critical vulnerability in secure workload with a maximum CVSS score of 10. The flaw affects internal REST API endpoints and could allow attackers to access sensitive information and modify configurations across tenant boundaries with site admin privileges. Cisco says the issue impacts both SaaS and on-prem deployments, but does not affect the web management interface. Patches are available. Cisco has also addressed 3 medium-severity flaws affecting Thousand Eyes products and Nexus switches. The company says it has not observed active exploitation. Researchers at Zimperium Z Labs have uncovered a large-scale Android malware campaign that secretly subscribed victims to premium SMS services without their consent. The operation involved roughly 250 malicious apps impersonating popular brands, including TikTok, Instagram Threads, Minecraft, and Facebook Messenger. The malware targeted mobile carriers in Thailand, Croatia, Romania, and Malaysia by checking SIM card details before activating fraud routines. Researchers say the apps disabled Wi-Fi, intercepted one-time passwords using Google's SMS Retriever API, and automated hidden subscription workflows through background web views. One malware variant also exfiltrated victim data and subscription confirmations through Telegram. The campaign highlights how attackers continue to weaponize legitimate mobile platform features and weak SMS-based authentication systems to support long-running fraud operations. Researchers say the infrastructure operated for nearly 10 months and was optimized to evade detection while maximizing carrier billing abuse. Drupal has released patches for the highly critical SQL injection vulnerability affecting sites that use PostgreSQL databases. The flaw exists in an API responsible for sanitizing database queries and could allow unauthenticated attackers to obtain sensitive information, escalate privileges, or potentially achieve remote code execution. Drupal warned users before disclosure that exploit code could emerge quickly after patches became public. Updates are available for multiple versions. The release also addresses additional vulnerabilities in Symfony and Twig dependencies. Researchers at ESET say the China-aligned webworm threat group has significantly evolved its operations in 2025, shifting focus from Asia toward European government organizations and deploying new stealth-focused malware and proxy infrastructure. The group introduced 2 new backdoors, Echo Creep and GraphWorm, which use Discord and Microsoft Graph API for command and control communications. Researchers decrypted more than 400 Discord messages tied to echo creep and uncovered evidence of targeting in Belgium, Italy, Poland, Serbia, and South Africa. Webworm also expanded its use of custom proxy tools designed to create layered, encrypted traffic chains across compromised systems. ESET says the group stages malware through GitHub repositories and used a compromised Amazon S3 bucket for configuration retrieval and data exfiltration. The findings reflect a broader trend among advanced persistent threat groups toward blending malicious activity with legitimate cloud services and collaboration platforms to evade detection. Researchers also identified reconnaissance activity using open-source vulnerability scanners and web directory brute forcing tools against dozens of targets across Europe and Africa. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin pledged deeper cooperation on artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, satellite systems, and internet governance during a summit in Beijing. In a joint statement, the two countries outlined plans to expand collaboration on satellite internet technologies, open-source software, and joint development initiatives aimed at reducing dependencies on Western technology. Moscow and Beijing also agreed to improve interoperability between Russia's GLONASS and China's Beidou satellite navigation systems and coordinate more closely on cyber policy and information security. Both governments reaffirmed support for Internet sovereignty, which gives states broader control over domestic digital environments. The agreement reflects a growing strategic alignment between China and Russia in cyberspace and emerging technologies, particularly as both countries seek alternatives to Western-controlled infrastructure and standards. The announcement also comes amid increasing concerns over the military and cyber applications of artificial intelligence. Coming up after the break, Maria Vermazis speaks with Jake Moore, Global Cybersecurity Advisor for ESET, sharing a glimpse into his InfoSecurity Europe keynote, The Deepfake Interview. And Greg doesn't even work here anymore. Stay with us.
You said this place was steps from the water.
We just haven't found the steps yet.
How much did we save?
Enough.
Enough to get lost?
Or you could book a stay with Hilton.
Welcome to your oceanfront room, just steps from the water.
The Hilton sale is on now. Book on Hilton.com or the Hilton app and save up to 20% to get the stay you expected. When you want savings, not surprises, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Jake Moore is Global Cybersecurity Advisor for ESET. Our own Maria Vermazis caught up with him to get a glimpse into his recent InfoSecurity Europe keynote, The Deepfake Interview.
All right, Jake, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so glad to meet you. I've heard so much about you, so I appreciate it. Well, Jake, you are, to me, a very well-known person, so I feel a little silly asking you to introduce yourself. But you've done a lot of public speaking, so I know this is de rigueur. So if you wouldn't mind starting us off with an intro, brag a little bit. Tell us about how awesome you are.
Well, I'm not going to do that, but thank you ever so much. It's always great to be chatting to you, and it's amazing to be at InfoSec this year. I can always start with the fact I love crime, because I genuinely do, but I like to test what cyber criminals are up to, I always like to kind of look into the future a little bit as well and see what's coming around the corner that's maybe going to affect businesses in the future. And I'm lucky enough to test a lot of it out. So really, I've got this huge long background in just enjoying watching how criminals work. But now I can ethically play around with those tools and really see how businesses can be protected. So it's a great win-win for everyone. I get to have fun, and hey, all in the good spirit of learning about good old cyber education.
Yeah, and the work that you've done has been so fascinating to follow over the years. So I'm thrilled to hear that you're doing a keynote at InfoSec Europe this year where you're going to be sharing some of your findings that I feel almost obligatory AI mention. They are AI related.
Of course, there has to be these days,
of course,
doesn't it?
they have to be. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So maybe we start with the elevator pitch for your keynote. I know we don't want to give too much away, but so what are you going to be sharing with the audience this year?
Well, it's pretty much what it says in the talk. It's a deepfake interview. I thought this year, why not just say exactly what it is? I've been fascinated with these deepfake interviews for a couple of years, knowing that it's been possible that people have been actually getting jobs as other people. I've been trying it for a couple of years, and I did try it 2 years ago and failed miserably. It was so bad. I just couldn't get it right using the deepfake technology that was available then. Moving on, I've been able to actually do it. And then I came up with this idea that I'd actually try it on someone, see if I could actually manipulate someone. So with permission from the CEO of the business, they let me try for a job. And I got through a first interview, which I was so nervous about. So not just because I was using technology that could have failed at any moment, but I realized I hadn't been for many interviews in my life. I worked in the police force for 14 years. So I only really had one interview. And then I've been working at ESET for 8 years, and I only had one interview at the start then. So it all came back to me, all those nerves.
That terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
But do you know what? I thought that might help, that I was nervous. Of course, if you're in an interview, you might be nervous. So I went with it and I had some fun. And within a few minutes, I realized that the deepfake technology that I was using had ultimately fooled them into thinking that I was a real person. They weren't asking me to do any tests or anything. Ironically, we even start talking about AI in the interview. It was brilliant. I was trying not to laugh. We had lots of fun. But yeah, I got round to another interview. I started doing a presentation. I got AI to write this PowerPoint. We had loads of fun. And ultimately, I did get offered the job. But it actually doesn't stop there.
Gosh.
That isn't actually the ending of the whole talk. There's more to it, but I don't want to give away too much more. It gets funnier.
That is wild. And yeah, definitely. So folks who are going to be attending at InfoSec Europe, you have to tell me what happens next, because I'm dying to know. I have been so fascinated to be following these stories about deepfake interviews, seeing the viral videos from often the other end when someone goes, I caught someone trying to apply for this job rec that I had open. And it's been like so many things in InfoSec, that cat and mouse game, but the pace at which the technology has developed has been really astounding, especially when I think of the techniques that people have been told to sort of try and spot a deepfake interviewer, but very quickly those techniques don't work anymore. Yeah. What are your thoughts on all those kinds of things that you've been seeing there? I'm just curious, because you've been in that world so much. Yeah.
You've hit the nail on the head right there. There are loads of techniques, like you can ask people to wave their hand in front of their face, or talk about North Korea, funnily enough, what their thoughts are about the government. I mean, it's kind of funny, but these don't always work, because there are workarounds and the technology improves. I mean, I've seen that myself with the software that I've been using, how it improves over time. And I just think, gosh, in 2 years' time, it's going to be even better. So it's difficult to say, hey, do this one thing and it's foolproof, because as it's technology, it improves all the time. And criminals know exactly how to get around things, because we as people in the industry are saying, oh, this is what you might need to look out for. And they go, right, okay, that's what we're going to do with version 2. And they're very good at doing that. And so really it comes down to verifying who people are in much better ways. But what I found is in fact, I've been doing a lot of work with HR departments in different industries, which has been a brilliant insight for me, because it's not just cybersecurity professionals that I've been dealing with here.
Right.
So it's HR people who are brilliant people. They know how to talk. They know how to get people to talk themselves, but they're not always aware of the technology that's available. And they are inundated with people going for their jobs that they have on offer. And so they've got to speed up the process. And lots of them, ironically, are also using AI. In fact, one of the interviews I went to, I actually spoke to an AI avatar in my very first interview. And I was using an AI avatar as a female. So it was AI talking to AI. It felt so strange. It was like an episode of Black Mirror, but it was fun.
Yeah, I was to say, I think from the InfoSec point of view, that is fun. And then from zooming out, I go, what on earth does this mean for not just companies, but job seekers and for all of us in humanity? I mean, are we just going to go, no more remote interviews, everybody come back in person because we can't trust anything on the screen anymore? I really wonder.
Well, I think we need a bit of both. So remote interviews, of course, they do so much to help the industry because some jobs, they have 1,000 applicants go for this one role. So they're using lots of technology and remote interviews to whittle it down to the right numbers. But there has to be an element of human interaction at some point. I've spoken to huge companies, global companies that say that this is impossible, but then they're starting to see the help that is on offer with third parties that get involved in other countries that might have contractors that before they go and send out a laptop, because that's ultimately what they're wanting here. It's not just to get a job, to get maybe your first month's paycheck. They want that laptop so they can break in from within. And that's what's powerful here. And that has been done. And so this really was a way to prove that anyone can fall for this. It's not to point fingers at those people that were on the other end of the interview, because so many people would fall for it and don't question it because it's not known, especially in HR.
Yeah. I wonder what I imagine the advice would be changing almost day to day at this point, but or is it actually? Maybe I should not assume. What is the advice that we give organizations at this point?
Yeah, to have at some point in that process to meet people in real life. The best thing would be to say, just come to our head office and we can give you that laptop and we can check all the credentials. But at some point, that can be manipulated. This is social engineering at the highest level. There's always a reason. And by that time, they've created a friendship. In one of my interviews, one of the HR people would say, "Oh my goodness, you'd so fit in here," because I pretended that I had a teaching background. She was saying, "Oh, Janet used to be a teacher. You'd really get on with her." And by then I'm feeling like I know extra people in the organization. And so if I then come up with a wonderful story about even just the trains are out today and I'm not going to be able to get down, or my family member has a problem, just like all those scams we hear in, say, romance scams, for example.
Yeah,
by the
absolutely.
time you've got that emotional investment in there, then it can be abused. And that's what I'm really trying to hit on. And it comes out, I use loads of the footage from the interviews because it really shows how these people get attached in these interviews.
Oh gosh, yeah, because people want to trust, people want to create that connection.
That's it.
And it's the beauty. It's the beautiful part of humanity, but unfortunately, it is so often exploited. And AI is such a fascinating accelerant of good and bad. I feel like sometimes the best advice is for everyone to slow down, but that is tough advice to follow in today's business world. So I don't really know how that would work. So yeah.
I love AI. I think everyone is playing with it, and that's great. And if it can be used for efficiency, then fantastic. But yeah, we do need to have some of that time back, because I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it can make me more productive." Well, then don't do more in that extra time you've been given back. Take some time away if it's doing, say, a certain proportion of your job. That should be therefore something that we should take hold of, and go and play with the kids, play with the dog, go and see some friends or family. That is when AI really helps out.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, is that part. So that's that's what I want to see as well. Yeah. Well, Jake, it's been a joy speaking with you. I want to make sure that you get the last word. And again, you're going to be doing the keynote at InfoSec Europe. So folks who are going to be attending that, you're in for a treat for sure. Anything else you want to mention to our audience today, Jake?
Well, I think you mentioned the big word there. It's all about trust. Can we trust anyone these days? Is seeing believing, Or I can promise you this, on stage, it will be the real me, no deep fakes there. It won't be my avatars, it will be the real Jake Moore. And I'm hoping we get lots of people there. It'd be great to see you all there.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for speaking with me today, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And of course, Maria Vermazes is host of the T- Space Cyber podcast. You can find that right here on our network or wherever you get your favorite shows.
So good, so good, so good.
Everything you want for summer is at Nordstrom Rack stores now, and up to 60% off. Stock up and save on the brands you love like Vince, Sam Edelman, Frame, and Free People. Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite Rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you Rack.
Some things are impossible to miss, like an elephant in the room. Or a bull in a china shop. Or this season's amazing offers, brought to you by PayPal. Discover offers from hundreds of brands like Viator, Allbirds, and Tory Burch right in the PayPal app. Save an offer before you check out with PayPal and earn unlimited rewards. Download the PayPal app to get started. Terms and exclusions apply. See paypal.com/rewards terms.
And finally, according to the Register, Nicole Beckwith of Cribble recalls investigating a breach at a U.S. city where attackers first treated the network like tourists on a casual sightseeing trip. They played with conference room projectors, wandered through city systems, and eventually discovered controls tied to the municipal water utility. That is where the story stopped being funny. The attackers gained access through an account belonging to Greg from Auditing, a former employee who had not worked for the city in years. Somehow, Greg's account still held domain admin privileges, SCADA operator access, and help desk permissions, which is an impressive resume for someone no longer on the payroll. Beckwith suspects attackers found Greg's credentials in a previous data leak and simply tried reused passwords until something worked. The incident highlights an old but persistent security problem: dormant accounts, excessive privileges, and the dangerous assumption that someone else surely handled offboarding. As Beckwith put it, every forgotten account is just one bad day away from the evening news. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's lead producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our contributing host is Maria Vermazes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Previously, attackers broke into systems. Now they're chaining identities together to move through your environment unnoticed. We recently spoke with Justin Kohler from SpecterOps about how attackers are exploiting common identity configurations across today's hybrid environments. Attackers are compromising one account and moving on to the next until they reach the administrator access and high-value targets thereafter. And with AI, these attacks are becoming cheaper to execute and easier to scale, putting more organizations at risk. If you want to understand what identity attack path management looks like and why it matters for defending modern environments, Listen to our full conversation at explore.thecyberwire.com/SpecterOps. That's explore.thecyberwire.com/SpecterOps.